Thank you. Yeah. Love to Andrew.
Jeff, did
Where's
you
she
sing?
from? Where is she?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it, I
Betty, you
guess.
missed it.
I did. Dang.
Oh,
No, it might not have been that, eventful that it stuck in your conscience.
I'm pretty forgetful these days.
There were a couple old ladies that were in this nursing home, and they had been there for years, and it's the same ridiculous routine. They wake you up and they kind of dress you and they bathe you, and then you eat breakfast and they wheel you into the sunroom and you watch TV until lunchtime, and it's the same routine and everything. And one day they feel we got to get out of here. So what they do is they study when the nurses are changing their shifts, and when the security guards are changing their shifts and everything. And they watch it for a couple of weeks, and they figure out now's my time. It's in the afternoon. They leave at 3:45, and they shoot out, and they get outside, and no one has noticed them. And they get out in the parking lot, and they like, you know, they hadn't kind of planned from then on, and they're wandering around the parking lot. They see this huge Oldsmobile, and someone's left the keys in there. So they get in the car and they start driving down the down the road, and the lady driving goes right through a red light. The other lady's thinking, "Oh my God, this is dangerous," and drives down another 6 blocks, goes through a second red light. Oh my God, if she runs through another red light, if Gladys runs through another red light, I'm going to have to say something. And sure enough, another mile down, she runs through a third red light. She said, "Ethel, do you realize you just ran through 3 red lights?" "Oh my God, am I driving?"
Oh.
That's what we're getting to, folks. What? Oh my God, did Jeff sing? Oh.
Miss Jeff. I miss Jeff. Have you been, Daddy?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I do have to say though that I can't remember what song you sang. I know you sang. I remember you picked up your guitar and you sang, and it was a great song, and you put it down. Now I can't
That
think
one,
what you sang.
with
What did
light
you
from
sing,
your
Jeff?
from with light from your pure love, I wind my way, I wind my way. Remember that one?
Oh,
Yeah, I wind
yeah.
my way. I wind my yeah.
Right.
There. See, I knew it. I knew what song you sang. I was
Ask
here.
Jeff about remembering.
What's
Hey,
that? I can hear
Ask
Dave.
Jeff,
Your tractor's making
ask
too much
Jeff,
noise.
ask Jeff if he remembers.
Ah,
ask
yeah,
Jeff if who
He
remembered.
remembers. Remembers
yeah,
to remember.
yeah.
Are you
Hey,
remembering?
that reminds me of something. If you might be interested, something but I'll come in when everybody else has had a chance. But there's something about remembering that I wrote from Eric.
Oh, good. I wonder if Dave has a song for us.
I can't remember any.
Hey, we got Alan on board here. I think he probably finished washing the dishes, so he can come now.
I see Meher Prasad.
Yeah.
Mayor Prasad. Where's Mayor Prasad?
They
Mayor
just.
Chand. Mayor Chand.
Oh, there he
Yeah, I
is.
just mentioned.
Oh, there's Mayor Prasad. Oh, fantastic. Seattle has arrived. Hey, you want me to read this? This is something I wrote up a recollection from Erich, but it
Yeah.
was a real turning point in my life. Now, it might not appear that to you, but it was invaluable. A lot of things that Erich said, just kind of little odd remarks or whatever. Not in this case, but they made deep impressions on me, and I think he knew what he was doing when he said certain things. So here we are. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
There was a time in 1975, before I started working at the Mayor's Center, when I was working for Price Branch's construction company, and we were doing house painting, some fine interior jobs over in Briarcliff Acres, just north of the center. In this upscale neighborhood, you had to do quality work. Back then, I would describe myself as a Baba remembrance machine. I would say Baba, Baba, Baba inwardly as I was painting with each stroke, brush stroke, cutting in windows and baseboards with Baba's name. I worked for 6 months, and then Price and I went to India. One day we were sitting just outside Mandalay Hall on a bench with Erich. And Price said to Erich, Erich, I work as a house painter, and sometimes hours go by and I haven't even thought about Baba. He is the most important being in the world, and hours have gone by and I'm not even remembering him. What can I do about that? Erich replied, in the beginning, it's important to remember Baba, to say his name, to see the movies, and to go where Baba has been and read all the literature. But in time, it becomes important to forget yourself. When you forget yourself, then Baba can live through you. You're not aware of it, but he is living through you. He underlined the supreme value of self-forgetfulness. That was a turning point for me in my life with Baba because I had become a bit rigid in remembering him all the time. I had lost the playfulness that had always been a part of me since childhood, the wide range of enthusiasm of my college days, the genuine fun of life. Since that time, I have found that self-forgetfulness and remembering Baba make a vital complementary dynamic in my inner life. Erich would say, get wholeheartedly lost in your activities. And when coming out of that absorption, remember Baba. And he would add, when you remember to remember, remember him. So this is how Erich's words are translated for me in my life. When I get into something such as volleyball or music or gardening, uh, we forget ourselves. Then Bob is living through us. And after the activity, we remember him. So it's an alternating between remembrance and self-forgetfulness. I found that if it's all Baba remembrance, I would become a little stiff and unnatural. And if it's all self-forgetfulness, that also can be unbalanced. Self-forgetfulness and Baba remembrance for me work beautifully together. That awareness has freed me up to do a lot of things on the center that might not technically be considered Baba. Baba liked games, skits, jokes, and movies because in them we forget ourselves. Like gardening, you can forget yourself among flowers and hours fly by. It's heavenly. I asked Margaret Craft's dancers, most of whom were deeply devoted to Baba, if they remembered him out on the stage in the midst of their performances. This was ballet at its highest level at the time. They all said that they remembered Baba before their performance and afterwards, but then they lost themselves in their dance performance. They had all tried at one time to remember Baba during their performance, but they confessed that it took away from the dance. That's it.
Oh, that's a beauty. That is true.
But I gotta write it up a little bit better. But yeah, self-forgetfulness is a valuable port. But even though, hey, Mayor Prasad, you brought that up, you can remember Baba when you're out dancing. I remember, but forgetting yourself is a beautiful part of the equation of living for Baba. Yeah.
That's very helpful, Jeff, that
Yeah.
separation.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll feel guilty. Oh my God, I went through a couple hours. I was dealing with these patients and everything, and I forgot Baba entirely. But
Yes.
he may well have been working through you
Yeah.
without your knowing it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it just seems to work with what Marian from New York was sharing the other day, that love essentially expresses itself through action, basically. So that's what happens, I guess, when you forget yourself and then just are involved in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, that was real valuable for me, but I kind of overdid it. I tend to do things in extremes, especially when I was young. When I was young like Alan, but then I kind of matured a little bit, you know.
Hey,
So I was a bit crazy.
I thought I'll read this. I had this in my
Yeah.
mind when the prayer began, so let me just get it off my head. Here it is. This is from Discourses, and the title of the subsection reads, People Constantly Interacting on Inner Spheres. I'm sure you all have read this, but I thought I'll share it anyway. So Baba goes, those who have even a preliminary acquaintance with the structure and laws of the inner spheres of existence know that complete isolation of human beings is a figment of imagination. Whether they desire it or not, all persons are constantly interacting and interacting upon each other by their very existence, even when they do not establish any contact on the physical plane. There are no limits to the spreading of the influence of the individual. The magnetic influence of the subtle spheres knows no barriers of national frontiers or any other conventional limitations. Good thoughts as well as evil thoughts, cheerful moods as well as gloomy moods, noble and expansive feelings as well, noble and expansive feelings, as well as petty and narrow emotions, unselfish aspirations, as well as selfish ambitions, all these have a tendency to spread out and influence others, even when they are not expressed in words or deeds. The world of mental life is as much a unified system as the world of gross matter. The gross world as a vehicle of spiritual life has its own indubitable importance, but the links and connections existing between different persons can by no means be fully estimated if one merely considered the tangible transactions that take place in the gross world. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beauty, actually.
Yeah. Beautiful.
The very words, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, you know, it just.
At one point, Baba said, if his lovers would cultivate thoughts of world peace, it could be brought about.
Wow.
I mean, this is not even action. This is not even getting out and on the streets, you know, marching for world peace. But if my lovers would cultivate thoughts of world peace, it can be brought about.
I think that was probably one. There was a question asked to Baba, how can we prevent another war? This is obviously during the Second World War, and then everybody's afraid and stuff like that, I guess. So Baba says, by thinking that there will be no war. That's the power of thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
Along those lines, Jeff and Prakash, I read this message from Baba that I really don't remember reading before, but it was very nice to read this. It goes, your act of help or word of comfort supplies to others whatever might be lacking in them, and through their thoughts of gratitude and goodwill, you actually receive more than you give.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, these are like real truths that can make a life much more wholesome. Yeah, beautiful. Alan, what you got on tap?
I actually just wanted to share something because this is another story from Rustam Falahati where he was it's called Invite Baba into Your Weaknesses, and I just thought it was pretty profound because yeah, I mean Erich just kind of says something to Rustam that I didn't even expect to hear. So if you'd like, I can share it.
Beautiful.
So he said, there's a Baba quote which says, whenever you feel angry or have lustful thoughts, remember Baba at once. In this manner, you can prevent unwanted thoughts from turning into unwanted actions. After living at Mehrabad for several years and trying my best to practice the above message, I felt frustrated as I was unable to control my anger and other desires with remembrance alone. So one day when Erich was free, I approached him. Erich, Baba has said that remembering him can prevent one's desires from being put into action. However, I keep trying and fail most of the time. The force of the desires push me into action in spite of calling out his name. I end up giving into my desires. Is there something more that I should do? Bella.
Yeah, just call out like that. A little louder.
Erich's straight reply shocked me. As you start indulging in your desire, invite him to take part in it too. I looked at Erich thinking he was joking, but saw a serious expression on his face. I was still unsure if he was joking or not, so I asked, are you serious? Yes. Invite him to take part in your weakness, in your desires.
Yep.
I still had not gotten over the shock. It does not look like a correct thing to do, I protested. Erich appeared surprised. But why? I said, to invite a divine being to take part in a gross act which you know is wrong? I mean, it sounds like blasphemy to me. Erich didn't say anything for a long time and then said, if a room is dark and you want to get rid of the darkness, what do you do? I said, bring in a source of light like a candle, a lamp, or electricity. Exactly, Erich replied. That is what I am saying. Bring in the divine source of light into the darkness of your desires, and the darkness will disappear. My mind was still rejecting what Erich was saying. Invite him to take part in an immoral act? I asked again. Remember, he is present everywhere, for all times and at all times. There is not a single moment that he is not with you or not in you. When you invite him, he does not have to come to you. He is already there. Your invitation only increases your awareness of his presence, which is constantly there with you. He is never absent. Your awareness of him is absent. You must have had an occasion in your life, say when you went to a party, lots of friends may have been present, but you do not notice or meet anyone because you were preoccupied with someone or something. Have you had such an experience? It is like that. We are too preoccupied with right and wrong, moral and immoral, our desires, to notice His presence, which is constantly with us at all times. So create that awareness by inviting Him in everything you do. By everything, I mean everything. He is already present. It is for you to create that awareness that He is already present. Although my heart accepted Erich's words, my mind created a barrier to it. It took years of suffering to break down this mental barrier before I could put a tiny bit of what Erich said into practice.
Beautiful. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true, and it goes against your traditional religious dogma and everything. But Baba is so great.
That's beautiful, Alan. Beautiful.
Yeah, that question of how to remember him first is something that I find profoundly simple, but extremely challenging to sustain throughout at least throughout my day.
Yeah.
To keep bringing my focus to him in everything.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
Charles,
I
I'm gonna say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles Haynes says something in relation to that, to remembering Baba. Somebody asked him, how do you relate to Baba every day, in your everyday life? How Baba is with you, how Baba is in your life, how that happened. And he said that everything that he does, Baba is there. Everybody that he related, Baba is there. So the only thing he had to do is to remember that. If he's talking to someone, Baba is there. Baba is in that person. So everything he did, he was like always remembering that Baba is there. So that's how he related to Baba in everyday life. He never forget Baba because Baba was in everything that he did, in everybody, especially people, that he related, he had to talk, students and whatever. Baba was always there in these people. Baba comes to him, that's what he said. Baba comes to me through people, through the things that I do. Baba talks to me through these people. He reads through these people what Baba's messages on his everyday life.
That's what Erich said to somebody who asked him, like, why do you keep getting up for everybody who enters the room? Like he'll stop his conversation to give them a hug. And then somebody said, no, Erich, please, like just stay seated. It's okay. Like, you're busy. Like, don't get up for me. Like he had, he was older. He was like, are you denying me the opportunity to hug my beloved in you? And then they're like, that's how you relate to us? He's like, why else would I want to hug you people? Like, yeah, it was so, I just thought that was sweet. He would just see Baba in everyone, or remember Baba in all the people.
And here, listen to Baba's messages, to your daily activities, whatever happened to you, it's like Baba's message is there, So I forget that, most of the time, but it's there.
But I think, Alan, what you said and what Jeff said, if you put two together, then remembrance becomes so natural, actually. It does take some effort initially, but I guess it can become so natural as part of your daily life. It just beautiful. Thank you both.
Yeah. No, I remember Adi saying, someone was saying, well, I'm not remembering Baba enough, I'm not remembering Baba enough. And he said, well, suppose you're there with your mother. You don't say, Mom, I love you, Mom, I love you, Mom. You know the love is there and you experience it very naturally. You don't have to go on asserting it. It's just naturally there. You know, that's kind of a beautiful, I mean, it's also a very natural thing. But you don't say, you know, Lanita, 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 Lanita. Oh, hi, Lily.
Jeff.
Yeah, I had the
Jeff.
thought. I had the thought that, like, actually, I had read something, and I also thought that, you know, even if Baba was in your physical presence, it didn't stop certain things from happening. Like, if something needed to happen, like an uncomfortable interaction or something that upset you, or even an accident, like those things that you're destined, that will happen to you, will happen to you. And
And Balu,
yeah. Yeah, I just realized that, just I was saying that because I was thinking, oh well, if I was in, I had a thought like, if I was in Baba's presence all the time, I feel like I would be so I would be relieved of some of this mental turmoil, and then I had that other thought, which is like, you know, even people who were in his presence went through a whole lot of stuff, you know, like it didn't stop it from happening. Like they still had to deal with their
Yeah.
sanskaras. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Although they said, you know, Baba's presence could be so overwhelming.
Oh yeah, I know.
That you were in
I read that.
in a place that you didn't normally live in. But when you're with Baba all the time, I mean, like I'm here at the center so much of the time. After a while, you get acclimated to the Baba's presence, so that you don't notice it as overwhelmingly as, for example, I did when I first came here. Boy, this is a powerful place. So what happens is you start acting the way you know, just the way you naturally do, you know, and it's, and if, you know, if I was experiencing this place as I did when I first came here, my behavior was different. I was a little much more reverent. I mean, I still have a reverence, but it's deep within. But there, I was kind of, I mean, it was revered everything. Just, but you get acclimated to it, and I know, I mean, Kitty had been Saint Teresa of Avila, you know, and sometimes she'd ask me for dinner, and I'd say, "Oh, Kitty, I'm a little bit tired today. I think I'll go home and just rest." I mean, then I drive away. I'm thinking, Jeff, I mean, this is like, you know, this what a great soul, and you just going to go home and rest and just grab a tuna fish sandwich or something. I mean, but I said, God, you know, you just wind up doing what you know, you just kind of behave the way you behave. I had to actually make myself not do such things. You know, I mean, just taking this thing for granted. But if you're not careful, you just wind up being yourself, so to speak. You know?
You know, that reminds me of Baba reminding Mandali that every now and then, that know that I am God. I know you're close to me all the time.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I went to water Baba's garden.
Yeah.
So Dory is away, and then they asked me. So Barbara gave him permission, you know, to.
Yeah.
So I haven't been there in 4 months, you know.
Yeah.
So that was so special. I could not believe I was there. I was like, oh my God, I'm really here.
Yeah.
I was just by myself, and then nobody came, you know, because nobody's supposed to go anyway, you know, to the compound. So I was just there with the host. I spent 3 hours. I took my time to stay there as much as I could.
I know. And
to water the plants, you know, it was so wonderful. You know, I take for granted also because we go there 3 times a week, you know, on a regular basis. But I haven't been there in such a long time that, oh my God, it was so special. You know, I I was so grateful that Baba was giving me a chance to to be there and to water his plants, his garden. Oh, it's wonderful.
And being away for that length of time, you really feel the atmosphere of the center
Yeah,
more
right.
than when you come 3 times a week or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was great. I might go tomorrow if it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
I'm praying to Baba. Don't bring the rain tomorrow, Baba, because I want to water your plants
Don't
again.
let it rain.
Baba, please hold on to the rain for a while. Let me go water your garden first.
Yeah.
When going to Myrtle Beach, that honestly, both times that I've been, the only 2 times I've been, has felt like I was in some sort of amazing, I don't know what it is, like a beautiful love story in real life. I mean, I was there with my wife, but it was also just like everything colored that filter. It felt like everything was so, like you were describing, Jeff, just like this reverence. Every leaf and the air, it was just everything in the morning time, or the cabins or the people. It just all felt very, very sacred or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sacred. Yeah, exactly. That's the word, sacred. Yesterday was so sacred for me, to get there, to open the gates, to get in there, and I saw Baba's house, and I was just like, very, very sacred. And I took my time very slow, got the hose and started watering. I was meditating the entire time with Baba, in the house. I asked for Baba's darshan, at the door.
And she ran up a horrendous water bill at the same time.
3 hours, Jeff. 3 hours.
Yeah.
I was there. I was from 9:30 to.
Yeah, no, Baba would love that. That's great. That's that's how that's the balance of mind and heart that Baba's talking about.
Hey, did Baba sit on that bench? I always wondered because there's some bench when you walk into the gate, and then to your left,
Yeah.
there's some bench that I immediately was drawn to. I kind of went there by myself when I first walked in, and then I just wanted to keep sitting there. And Adrian's like, "No, we got to go inside to see Baba's room." And I was like, "I want to sit here for a little bit longer." I just felt very peaceful.
Baba didn't sit on that bench, but that bench marks the place where Baba sat.
On a chair, right?
Chair.
Yeah.
There's a little excerpt of a movie, but you'd rarely see it, where Baba's sitting there and he's throwing prasad, and everybody's diving for it, and it's so animated.
Wow.
And even Erich is getting a kick out of it, and he's holding a bowl, and Baba's flipping it, and kids are diving for it, and people are dropping it, and I think dropped it, and then one of the Mandali got to collect the things that were dropped, but you could just see the massive animation of all these people that Baba just ignited through
that spot.
Over in that corner there. Where you went.
Yes. Some time ago, Damien showed us, exactly the spot.
Yeah.
He know the exactly spot. Is by the bench. Is next to the bench.
Yeah.
That's where the chair was. Where Baba sat in the chair.
Yeah.
There was a rock there. I think Damien put the rock there, or somebody else did. I don't know who.
So I guess that's some of those divine impressions you were talking about, Jeff.
Yeah, Darwin felt that these were fountains of divine energy coming out in certain places on the center, and that was one of the places.
That's exactly what I felt when I sat down. I felt like this.
Yeah.
I was in a fountain or a waterfall or something.
That's how he described it, and there were various places on the center that he showed us where he felt.
Wow.
Great energies.
That's amazing.
What else, Jeff? Where's the other place?
Oh, there's one over by the lagoon cabin. There's
Is it in the lagoon cabin or by
outside?
Oh.
Outside. various places. There is a video, I think, that they made of Darwin going around and showing not only places where Baba sat, but also these energy, uh, whatever you would call fountains of energy. Yeah.
Is that tree still there? You know that picture that's on the website? There's a picture of Baba leaning on his hand on a tree by the lagoon
Yeah,
bridge.
no, we don't think that's there
No?
anymore. The pine trees down by the boathouse. There's
No, he's talking
Oh,
about
it's this one right here. Hey, see if you can see that. Are you able to see that?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's the picture.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's by the boathouse.
Yeah, but I don't think I think it got knocked down in one of the hurricanes.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, so,
How about that tree that Baba planted a tree by the barn? There's a story about one of the trees there. Is that true that Baba planted that?
There's
Do you know
yeah,
anything about it?
there are two of them. One is down closer to the lakeside. There's a little path that goes to it. It's a holly.
Still
And
there?
what's that? Yeah, it's still there. And the other one, if you was planted out in front of the barn, kind of out from the chimney. But that one didn't survive. I mean, I could tell that it was just symbolic because someone just dug it. It was a live oak out of the woods, and they just planted it in sand. You know, you see Erich kind of pushing the soil in there, and Adi, but and it was the middle of summer, which is not a time to transplant anything. In other words, didn't come in a pot. They just went out and dug up. They must have. I mean, that's my surmise.
yeah, there's video of that, right?
Yeah, there's a
Where
movie.
Baba's like Elizabeth is standing next to Baba on one
Yeah.
side, and
Yeah, yeah, that's that scene there. But I think, like I say, that never survived. I
wow.
mean, if it was in Seattle, I mean, in the rainfall and everything, it would survive, but you know, but here it bakes.
Wow.
Wow.
You know,
Is it,
Alex Hamilton once picked a branch of the tree because there was a storm before and all that stuff. And then, you know, this holly tree you're talking about, Jeff,
Yep.
and he, I guess, restored it in some ways and put some protection around it so it can continue growing. And then one of the branches fell by the side. So, and he used that to make buttons out of it. And then he would give it in Northeast Gathering whenever he come.
Yeah,
He used to
beautiful.
come. Yeah.
Yeah, he and I would go out and get manure, you know, good manure and everything. The tree was, for years, only when it was only about 4 feet high, and we started feeding it and everything. Now it's about
Now it's big actually.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like it was just in sandy soil, infertile. Yeah. Any Meher Prasad, anything out there to?
I just this tree and branches falling kind of reminded me of this story, Gustaji's story, if I remember correctly. You know, Papa Jesawala and Gustaji, they were. There was a point when Baba told Papa Jesawala and Gustaji and few others to go somewhere, and Papa Jesawala was supposed to, you know, take care of them. Not take care, but basically spend time with. What did he say, Jeff?
Like it was that time when he was supposed to be the manager of.
Yeah.
For the mandal. Yeah.
Right. And they were going to that place, and there was, while they were going in the car or Jeep, whatever that vehicle was, I hope I'm remembering this story correctly, you know, there was some obstruction that fell on the road. I think that was a tree or a branch. And you know, Papa Jesawala was driving the car, and you know, he couldn't go, so he stopped. And Gustaji was in the passenger seat, so Papa Jesawala asked him to go remove that branch, go remove that obstruction. And he sat there and looked at him and said, "That's not my job." And because, Baba told Gustaji not to do any work, and that's what he did. He didn't do any work at all. And
Yeah.
it was very hard on him, but he obeyed it 100%. I mean, I think whoever said this story, I think Yeruch or somebody, they said that imagine how embarrassing it is for Gustaji to just sit there and not do that work, when asked to do. But he just looked at him and he said, "That's not my job." Papa just saw, he got so very
Oh, I know.
all these good for nothing people with Baba.
Yeah. They
So
drove him crazy.
Yeah, do you know any more story about Gustaji?
Well, here's an interesting thing. Gustaji, I mean, he was very talkative in the early years. I mean, really talkative. And Baba put him on silence, and he was on silence the rest of his life. I think
Poor
it must
guy.
be from the 20s until the very end. And, but also, his job, say at Mirza, I'll just give you an idea. He would spend the whole week going around gathering twigs and paper and everything for making his bath water, and he bathed once a week, and he would tie up the bath stall the entire day, and he would have this fire heating up the water, and what he would do is, I don't know if you can see it, but he would wash his hand, from the end of his fingers to his wrist. He would wash that, and then he'd rinse it. Then he'd wash from his wrist to his elbow, and he'd work on that and everything like that, and then pour the water over it, and then he'd go from here to here.
Oh my goodness. No wonder he took only a bath only once a week, because it took like 5 hours.
Yeah, he was, but here's the interesting thing, is at one point, now Bao was very busy from morning till night. And, not only was he night watchman, but he also had to do the Hindi correspondence and look after these dogs. And then at one point, on top of everything else, Baba asked him to look after Gustaji. And, inside Bao's thinking, like, he doesn't do anything. He can do this stuff himself. I'm busy. So, but it went on for a while. I don't know, like a couple of weeks. And then Baba, same way with Erich, what are you thinking? Anything trouble? No, I'm okay, Erich. I mean, Baba, I'm all right. No, what's going on? And he got it out of him, and he said, Baba, you know how busy I am. I hardly get any sleep. You'd only get 2 hours sleep a night, and I have the correspondence. I'm not with you, the night watchman, and you've asked me to look after Gustaji. He's not doing anything all day, and that bothers me. I'm paraphrasing, and these are the lines of Baba. Baba said, Gustaji does more for me in 5 minutes doing nothing than you do in working for me from morning till night. What a world is that?
But what does Baba meant? Do you know? I mean, anybody knew what Baba meant by that? That Gustaji works for him?
Well, the thing is that if you're in a state of being instead of caught up in doing, if you can remain in a state of being, you are radiating tremendously, and it's very hard. I know Balnatu said there was one yoga that all of the Mandalay had to master, and it was just 3 words: sitting, doing, nothing.
What's the first one?
Sitting.
Oh, sitting, doing nothing. Oh, okay.
Sitting, doing.
I like that.
I mean,
I like that.
But try to do that just for a
No,
long
I know.
time. Then your mind starts to back up.
It would drive me crazy.
Yeah. And so he must have been able to just be centered and at peace. He was always cheerful, very fun-loving. What he would do, he would make up these fantastic tales, and these tales would go on for days. And so if they were walking, going after musk or something like that, he would entertain them with these fantastic tales and real complicated. I always wanted to get it actually described what these things were, but they would go on for days with characters and everything, and it would absorb the minds of the Mandali when they would be on these very tiresome trips and everything, or
This is
train
Gustaji,
Ustaji.
but he was silenced.
No, but they had to learn how to do his gestures. So that
Oh
they
my
do
God.
his gestures.
I remember Eric saying that he was so eloquent even though he didn't speak, and his stories were so entertaining. And like you said, Jeff, it'll keep them so entertained and so, very nice stories he would share.
Yeah, it was a great source of amusement to Baba.
Yeah.
You heard of that story about mangoes and Gustaji?
Yeah, I probably have. Go ahead.
Yeah, Erich told this story. This is hilarious. So Gustaji was very fond of cheese and mangoes. Those were the two things he liked a lot. So, in India, in summer, you get mangoes. So Baba would get these mangoes wherever he stayed. Typically, there were mango trees in the houses that they stayed, in which case Gustaji would just go. It was like a feast for him because he would go on the trees but sometimes the houses didn't have the mangoes, so somebody would send them to Baba and he would distribute them, among the mandali, like 2 or 3 mangoes to each of the mandali. So at one time they were staying in, I don't remember the year, but Irich said it was in Aurangabad or Hyderabad, one of those two places is what he said. So they were staying in this house and somebody sent ripe mangoes to Baba, and he distributed a couple to each mandali. And of course, Gustaji got them, and he was super fond of them. And typically in India, when you want to eat your most favorite food, you keep it to the end. You don't eat it right away. So that's what Gustaji would do. So he kept these mangoes so that he could eat peacefully at night when there is nobody around. So, in the morning, on that day, in the morning, Dr. Deshmukh came for summer holidays. So he was staying in that house with Baba and the Mandali. So what happened was that, they finished dinner and they all went to bed. And because it was summer, it was very, very hot. So everybody picked their own places to sleep. And Dr. Deshmukh decided, because it is so hot, he wants to go sleep on the terrace, which is on the terrace of the house. And everybody else slept wherever they wanted to. And then Gustaji, in the middle of the night, he remembered that he had this mango. So, that he saved for eating peacefully. So he took that mango, he went outside the house peacefully, and he opened the mango and he started to relish it. And he took 1 or 2 bites. And then it so happened that, he's outside the house, he's sitting on the steps. And of course it's open above. And around that time, it started to drizzle. So then Dr. Deshmukh is sitting on the terrace, right? So because it started to drizzle, he wanted to come down. And he had this bedding along with him when he was sleeping. So he rolled up the bedding and he wanted to come downstairs, but he didn't want to carry this bedding with him all the way down the stairs. So what he did was he from the terrace, he rolled up the bedding and he threw it down. and Gustaji is sitting here peacefully, relishing his mango. And there comes from the top a big bundle right in front of him. The next day, Gustaji is telling this to Baba. Of course, he embellishes everything. But apparently, after he threw the bedding down, Dr. Deshmukh is coming down the stairs. And he comes down the stairs. He sees Gustaji sitting on the steps. And he asks, Gustaji, what are you doing here? And he's already shocked. Gustaji is already upset with all that he got disturbed with all his eating. On top of that, he was terrified of this big bundles falling in front of him. And he told Baba that he was like a golf ball that jumped up to the roof when he saw that bedding fall in front of him. That it scared him so much that he jumped into the air and touched the ceiling. That was the story.
Yeah, a lot of very funny things happened, that they collected all of them, sometimes they will. I mean, all these things that go wrong in one way or another. I've mentioned this before. One time they were traveling in a certain state or a region of India where they didn't have tea. It was an area where they had coffee. And they were traveling, and Baba was, I think, contacting Mus or something like that. And there were the men Mandalay, and they all had their supplies, and they wanted to have some tea. And they were out in the kind of countryside, and they without asking Baba's permission, they asked if this guy could make them some tea. And so they tried to explain how to make the tea, and they gave him the tea leaves, the grounds and everything. And so he goes off and he comes back, after maybe an hour or so, and he, with his pot, Adi describes this. And what he did is he thought it was kind of like spinach, he boiled the water and everything, poured off the water, and then served, just the raw tea leaves. And, and they couldn't offend the guy because he'd gone to all this trouble. So he filled up their cups with tea leaves, and they had to just smile and eat the tea leaves. And a gentleman innocently says, "You people like this stuff?" So there, and then Bob would come back, he'd hear the whole story and have a big laugh. But a lot of things backfired around Bob.
But it's so strange, right? You go to places where people don't even know how to make tea. Wow.
Yeah, this was, like I say, this was a region of coffee, but I guess the tea leaves kind of look like, spinach or something, and poured off all that valuable water, tea water. Looks like.
Hey, you guys, it's Marta. You guys are still up?
Yeah, we're still.
Jesus.
We've been.
I thought I'd check into my all-night TV station and see who's up.
Yeah.
It's so loud.
I didn't think we were going to go very long, but it's one thing after another is kind of cropped up.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Ellen, are those computer glasses?
Yeah, yeah.
Do they help with the glare? Do they help with the glare?
Yeah, they help with blue light. I didn't really think they helped, but then I've been on my computer all day, and then my eyes are starting to burn, so I just put this on now.
Yeah, I've been noticing my eyes have been bothering me since I've been watching all these arties and Effort and Grace and everything. I've been on the computer much more, so that's why I asked you about your glasses.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I mean, they look really weird, but I prefer them because it just feels like my eyes feel like less burning.
They don't look weird.
Oh,
They
thanks.
look fine.
I I found a little Gustaji story if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's humorous, but it's okay. So when Baba was out looking for mosques on Mukama Ghat in Bhatanagar on 1st April 1948, an amusing incident took place. Baba was conversing with Bayadul, Chagan, Erich, Gustaji, and Kaka. As Gustaji was keeping silence, he was talking with his fingers, and Erich, who was the most adept at putting his gestures into words, was interpreting for Baba. Because Gustaji had enjoyed a bumper breakfast that morning, he was in a good mood and his fingers moved rapidly. Nearby, a policeman was observing this odd exchange and became suspicious. He asked everyone to accompany him to the police station. Erich asked what they had done wrong. This man is not speaking but making signals, and I'm suspicious of him. You'll have to come with me to the station to be interrogated. The policeman thought there was some secret coded messages being passed between Baba and Gustaji by signs. Due to the bitter relations between India and Pakistan at the time, even the smallest, most trivial incidents were viewed with apprehension. Erich assured him, "We are Parsis, and this person is dumb, and therefore was speaking through signs." Gustaji's feelings were pricked by this repeated remark, and he gestured to Erich, "Why do you always call me dumb? Am I dumb or observing silence?" Erich did not pay any attention to him and continued talking with the officer, but Baba snapped at Erich, "What is he saying? What is he saying? Why don't you tell me what Gustaji is saying?" When the policeman saw that there were two, quote, dumb persons in their group, he became even more suspicious. Erich, with difficulties, persuaded him of their innocence, and the police officer left. Now an argument ensued between Erich and Gustaji. Gustaji asked again, "Why do you always call me dumb? Had I not said you were dumb, you would have been locked up in jail." Erich explained. "So what?" Gustaji said. "That would have been better than being insulted." Baba continued goading Gustaji and at the same time demanding that Erich interpret his gestures. Finally, Erich got so exasperated, he told Gustaji, "Pardon me, henceforth I will never call you dumb again." But this was not the end of their confrontation. Baba continued to encourage Gustaji to keep on talking, and he went on making more and more signs, which Erich not only had to listen to, but also interpret and repeat. At last, Erich got so fed up with Baba siding with Gustaji that he exploded in sheer anger and said something very disrespectful to Baba. After a little while, Baba asked, "Do you know how much you have pained me?" Erich had cooled down and answered, "I did not mean it. Others have used much stronger language than I did. You did not feel so pained then. You have no idea how much you have shocked my heart. Listen to this story and you will realize why I feel so deeply hurt." Baba then recounted, "A woman in a village once cohabitated with a man who was not her husband, and the people came to know of it. It was the custom then to punish such a crime by making the adulteress sit in a circle. Every villager would then pick up a stone and strike her. The woman was made to sit in the town square, and the villagers began stoning her one by one. When the woman's turn came, she could not bring herself to stone her own mother. Instead, she picked up a rose and threw it at her. But the rose wounded the woman much more than all the stones combined, because it came from her daughter, one whom she dearly loved and had raised so tenderly. Similarly, others' stones do not hurt me as deeply as your rose," said Baba.
Yeah.
Jai
Wow.
Baba.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mhm.
Yeah, I think I remember it as a rose petal. She even just threw a rose petal. And I
Wow.
mean, Erich used to say, but maybe I don't remember that one. But yeah. But
Yeah.
Gestaji, now I've heard this, that Baba said his last son's scars had to do with ice cream, but when he was here in 1952, Baba here in Myrtle Beach, they all had allotted, a certain amount of money when they were in town for meals and everything. And Gestaji he used all of his money just to buy American milkshakes. I mean, he didn't eat any like decent food except, I guess, otherwhere. But when he was out, all he had was milkshakes.
Do you remember the story about the old bull and something like that with Gustachi Jeff?
With that?
There was a story about an old bull and a young bull that Gustaji narrated to Baba. Do you know the story?
No, I can't remember. You remember it well enough?
I don't fully remember, but he said something like, apparently in India there is on a bullock cart you tie one old bull and one young bull for it to go forward, and he was telling this to Baba, and he always wondered why that was the case. Why didn't they tie two young bulls or horses? I don't know the animal exactly, but two young bulls or two, and why keep the one old bull instead of keeping two young bulls? He never understood why that was the case. And he was telling this to Baba. So finally, he said he figured out the reason that morning. And Baba asked him, oh, yeah, did you figure it out? What is the reason? And he said that it is so that the old bull sets an example for the young bull on how to behave. It has so much experience. It has gone through all this suffering and all these beatings from the owner, that the young bull will learn from the old bull on how to move forward the cart and everything. And I don't know if I'm remembering this entirely correctly, but the gist is this. And then Baba said, oh, really? And then Gustaji said, now I understand why am I in this ashram. And I said, oh yeah, why? And he told Baba that I am playing the role of that old bull here.
Yeah, I remember that part of the story. Yeah.
Baba had a laugh out of it. He didn't say anything, but he just laughed.
That reminds me of the story of when that white donkey came at Champa, and the Mandali were taking care of Champa, and then when Gustaji got onto Champa, the horse would only walk, or the donkey would only walk backwards. Yeah, and it kept walking backwards, and at the end, it like bucked him off, and he fell and hurt himself. He couldn't get it to walk forward. That's the crazy part.
This reminds me of something. And see if you can get the moral of this. There was a father and his teenage son who were going to go to a distant village. And they had this donkey, and they took off. And as they were, at the end of the day, as they were approaching a village, the father was on the donkey, and the man was, and the boy was pulling the donkey. And they came in there, and the villagers kind of murmur amongst themselves. And then finally one of them came over and said, have you no shame? You're sitting on the donkey and you have your son having to walk. It should be the other way around. So they feel insulted and everything. So they go to the next village. They continue on their way, and this time they put the son on the donkey, and the father's pulling it. They come in the next village, and the villagers murmur and say, "Look at this! The son is like strong. He's sitting on the donkey, and the father is having to pull the donkey. What kind of people are these? They have no shame." So they just like feel terrible. And so they go on for the next journey and everything, and when they come down for the bed of the night, what they've done is both of the men have gotten on the donkey, and then they come into the village, and the villagers say, "Look at, what cruelty to this donkey! Both of them are on this on the donkey. I mean, what kind of behavior is this?" I mean, so finally, they go to the next village. I mean, when they're coming for evening into the next village, they're both kind of pulling the donkey, and they're both on foot. The villagers say, "God, these people are such idiots. I mean, at least one of them could be on the donkey and a long journey." So, what's the moral? What's the moral of the story?
Don't listen to what other people say. Just
Yeah,
do what you.
it's kind of a lover of God will never be able to please the world.
Oh, right.
You just won't be able to do it. But Bal Kalchura used to tell that. I thought it was, but it just shows. I mean, you try, if you're trying to adjust and kind of please the world as a lover of God, it's just probably not going to work.
Yeah, I remember, when Kitty Devi was trying to please everyone in the ashram during the, in the 40s or sometime, something like that. Baba told her, don't love the many in the one, love the one in the many.
Yeah. You know how that came about is she was in charge of the food among the women at one point when they were traveling. And Baba kind of left instructions, what they were to eat. I think they're just supposed to have a bread and chai for the morning. But this one would say, well, I need to have it toasted, and someone wanted a little bit of jam on it, and it was all this kind of chorus of discontent. And she was trying to accommodate and please these people. I'm feeling indigestion. I don't want butter on my thing, and so she accommodated. And then when Baba came, that's when Baba said, you're trying to please everybody. You're trying to please the many in the one, not the one in the many. But Kitty got so furious at Baba. There was an orange, and she took that orange and threw it at Baba's feet in anger. Rare for Kitty to do such a thing. But she said that somehow that act that she did kind of cleared up a tremendous amount of her anger. Baba had brought her to that, insulted her, you might say, her goodwill. She was trying to please everybody, but brought that anger came up, and it expressed itself right there, she didn't throw it at Baba, but at his feet. She had at least that much control. But she said that really was a turning point in her getting a natural control of her anger.
Wow.
Yeah.
By throwing an orange at Baba.
Yeah, he drove her to that point that she actually expressed it outwardly, and somehow that broke the.
So, question, Jeff, to everybody. The thing is, when Baba talks about one in the many and many in the one thing, was it because Baba was physically present in that group at that time, or?
No, he was away and he came back and found that
So, was Baba indicating that she should try to please Baba there physically in terms of what should be served and stuff like that, and ignore the rest of the requests from other people?
Yeah, she should have, just stuck with what Baba had said and not make any exceptions. But you know how our fellow beings are, they always want, some kind of exception, especially with the person in charge.
It's so tough. Yeah.
Horrible to be in charge. People did not want to be in charge of anything. around Baba. You'd have to kind of appoint them and make them do it, but they didn't want to be in charge because to be in charge of something is to be the brunt of all manner of things. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you so much. Beautiful stories. I enjoy very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, Lenita. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Jai
Tomorrow.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all beautiful stories.
Yeah, Nasreen. Yeah.
Yes, yes, indeed, we enjoy very much.
And Dinku, are you there, visible? Or Rakesh? We.
I see Merchant there.
Yeah,
Yes,
hi
sir.
Jeff. Yeah, I'm
Jai
very
Baba.
much here,
Uh-huh.
but busy running around doing stuff.
But you can kind of hear us blabbering away.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I muted myself and put me off the video.
Yeah. Yep. Good.
Jeff, do you know much
Yeah,
about
Jeff, even I'm
Erich?
here.
Oh, go ahead.
Who's that?
Jeff, even I'm here.
Oh, you are that, right? Is that Rakesh?
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh.
yes.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, you got to pay your Wi-Fi bill if you want to get a, picture.
It's early.
Alan, yeah, Alan, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
You're saying something.
Oh, I was just going to ask Jeff, did you hear from, I'm just reading on this, that Bauji had said that in the early days that he was afraid of, well, not that he was afraid, but he said that Erich was a terror to them in the early days. He was very afraid of him. He would hammer any of the Mandali. Did you ever hear that from Bauji yourself?
Yeah, well, I asked Bao one time, what was the trait in you that Baba was not happy with? That Baba didn't like in you. And he said, he said these men were such powerful personalities, and he was young. He was so intimidated by them that he was afraid to speak up. And Baba didn't approve of that and made him eventually have to speak up. But he just kind of went along with things, and they just kind of ran, they just kind of ran everything, and he just complied. But it wasn't the real compliance. So that's what he said Baba worked on that in him. He had a good balance of masculine and feminine. Bao did. And so the feminine could take a little bit of could be intimidated around those guys. They were, like I say, they were like lions, he said. Fearless and outspoken.
I get that sense from Padre for sure.
Yeah.
That fearlessness. I think that's what I pick up in his voice, or whenever I watch videos of him. It's just I just sense. I think that's, never put it to words, but I think that's what I sense when I watch those videos of Padre talking about Baba, because he's just so one-pointed, and there's nothing anyone could say that like could move him. He's like a rock.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, I liked him. I mean, he very colorful. Kind of the.
I like the story you mentioned earlier, Jeff. Something about some Bavala was shouting at him. I mean, Padre tries to insult him or say some words which actually don't agree with the guy. And this guy would not keep quiet. He just shot back at him. And then he says, I like this guy. Remember that thing you mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Do you want to say that in few words again?
Okay. Yeah. No, there was a guy that had gone overland to India, through Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. He arrived at Mehrabad, kind of disheveled. His hair is kind of, unshampooed, and he looked pretty rugged. and he comes down to Lower Meribad, and he says, "Where's the tomb? I'm looking for the tomb of the Avatar." And Tom Fortson, who was down there, a friend of mine, and said, "Well, it's just right up on the hill there. You know, just go right up there and across the railroad tracks, and you'll get to Baba's tomb." So he starts up, but then then Tom Fortson says, "Well, I should probably accompany him." So he's accompanying him up the hill, and as they get about halfway up, then Padre is coming down from the hill down, and when they get within about 20 feet of each other, Padre says, "Is this the way you dress when you come to the tomb of the Avatar?" And this guy looks at him and says, "I don't let anybody tell me how I look, what I dress. I want to come to the tomb of the Avatar." Padre looks over at Tom Fortson and says, "I like this guy."
That's a good one.
Here's another one. I mean, a different type altogether, but there was one guy named Flag Chris who used to work at Marizod. He was working on the discourses, editing them, and he would go from Marizod into town to the canteen, have a few beers and hang out there, maybe eat dinner, and then he would work his way out to Mehrabad where he was staying. Well, one night he completely lost track of the time, and the curfew was 9:30 at Mehrabad. And Padre would sit with his back on a chaise lounge, with his back to the highway, the road, you might say, on the veranda of the Mandalay Hall at Lower Mehrabad. And so Flag thought, "Oh my God, how is he going to do this? You know, he's got to get back in. He's got to try to get past Padre if he can." He's completely screwed up on the time. So he has the rickshaw guy stop about a half a mile down the road, and then he kind of sneaking along the highway and everything, and trying to get back to his room that's in the back of the building. And Padre says, "Who's there?" Nobody. Nobody. "Brother, you ain't nobody yet." Mister, you ain't nobody yet.
Wow. That's so beautiful, so appropriate.
Famous. So we can thank Flag Chris for eliciting that remark.
That's a great one.
Now, did Padre I can't remember. Did he drink or did he smoke cigarettes, or what was the thing that he did?
He smoked beedies.
Beedi? What is a beedi?
Beedi is a tobacco leaf that's rolled up into kind of what would be a small cigarette.
Oh, okay.
Tendu leaf. Tendu leaf.
It's a what?
Tendu. That's a one tree called tendu, out of which they make the bidis leaf.
Oh, it's not.
In that, what they do is, in the tendu leaf, they put the raw tobacco, means pieces, and then roll it. And with this, then they lit.
I see.
It's called bidi.
Beedi, yeah.
Is there a different effect to having that leaf with the tobacco, or it's just a holder?
Everywhere, it's available in many parts of the India. There is a manufacturer also, bidi manufacturer, especially in Andhra Pradesh, in Nizamabad area. There are a lot of people around Nizamabad and Adilabad districts. A lot of bidi manufacturers.
It smells a little bit like marijuana.
No, but it's actually more of a holder, I suppose, Alan. The leaf is probably strong enough to hold the stuff together inside, and the tobacco inside. I mean, that's my guess, but I really don't know if it adds any other thing to.
Yeah, there are different types of. One is bidi, other is called. We call, I don't know the technical name, is a traditional countryside cigar. Cigar. and that is called, we call chutta in Telugu. And other is a sophisticated cigar, what you get it in the market.
Yeah.
Various
So,
types of
yeah.
cigarettes. Yeah.
So as Padre used to smoke beedies.
Yeah, and Baba, I think for most of the Mandalay, they were allowed 5 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And boy, did they relish those 5 times. I mean, Adi, I mean, even when he would be here staying at the center, and then after breakfast, he'd go out on the porch of the farm shed and have his first cigarette of the day, you know, and it was like a, you know, it was like a whole, it was more than just a cigarette. It was like an experience, a large experience. And they, you know, they,
When you mean experience, you mean like he was, were you with him, or was it just him by himself, or what?
well, yeah, you could be with him, but I mean, you could tell that he was absorbed in this experience. You know, I mean, this was a great moment. Baba allowed it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that you're coming towards the end, and it's like you're gonna be taken out of this whole thing. You might as well just you
Yeah.
get a cigarette on your way out or something. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, after all that asceticism, you know, like you want to kind of go out with a cigarette, and sugar or whiskey or something.
Irich used to smoke, right? He used to smoke cigarettes.
Who?
Irich.
Yeah, Erich did too. Boy, he and see, it's really improper for Zoroastrians to smoke because they honor the fire temple and everything. So, but Erich got started because you know, you'd have to kind of you respond to the whims of the musts, and they would smoke a lot. And one of them started offering Erich cigarettes, which he had to smoke to appease the must, and he got addicted. He got addicted where he was smoking about 3 or 4 packs a day. I mean,
Whoa.
I mean, they would be with Baba in the lagoon cabin, then they'd have to step out and have a smoke and then go back in again.
Wow. So this was in the 50s that he was still smoking like that?
Well, what happened, there was a guy named Merwan Mistry who was
Jimmy Misty's son.
one of the
Yeah,
Baba.
Balu's brother.
Yeah, Jimmy Misty's son.
Yeah. And so anyway, he was not doing his studies properly, and he was, you know, kind of and quite and it was upsetting to Baba, and you know, he just didn't take studies seriously. And so Erich said, you know, he Erich was advising him that he should do what get good grades in school and everything, and I guess Merwan saw that he was smoking. Says, well, if you give up cigarettes, I'll graduate, something like that. And so then some years went by, and Merwan came to Guru Prasad and said, well, I graduated. Now you have to give up cigarettes. So Erich had to give up cigarettes, cold turkey.
Wow.
Ouch.
And cartons of cigarettes would come from other countries, you know, like from America. And in I think you said in Mandalay Hall they were distributing the cigarettes, the packets of cigarettes and everything. And Erich had to, you know, you'd say no, 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 and had to pass on the cigarettes as they were being passed out. And Baba said, what, Erich? You know, you're not having any cigarettes.
That's so humiliating.
Erich said, well, I gave my words. Merwan graduated and did well in school, and so he had to give up cigarettes.
Yeah, Merwan went on to become a doctor, and now he's in the US.
a surgeon, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still
Yeah.
alive.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Great guy. Wonderful stories of Baba with Baba.
His name's
Jeff, but
Merwan Mystery.
Merwan Mystery.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Irich used to chew the tobacco even afterwards. You know that? He had a small box in his drawer at trust office. He used to take only one small piece of the tobacco and used to put and used to chew for some times. Even Bauji used to do.
Wow. This is
Yeah.
even after he had given up cigarettes, but he.
Yeah, little, not much, very little, tiny. And only used to chew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Bauji used to do. But I have come across a chain smoker is Jimmy Mistry. Used to smoke a lot.
Yeah, that's Merwan's father.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's still
Is it
alive,
true?
right?
No, Jimmy's
I
passed
No.
away long back.
Who?
Oh.
Jimmy? Yeah, and Rhoda. They both passed away.
Rhoda passed away some years back, right?
Yeah, quite a ways.
Yeah, Merwan is in Pennsylvania right now, actually. He lives in Pennsylvania. Merwan
Yeah.
Mystery. All right, guys, it's 12 o'clock for.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I guess we're coming up to 12 o'clock Baba time.
Yeah, Jai Baba. See you guys.
Yeah.
Avtar Mehr Baba Ki
Baba
Jai.
Ki Jai.
No, you guys continue. I'm just.
Yeah.
See you all.
No, Prakash is shutting down the tavern.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Who we got? So Nasreen,
Yes.
wonderful to see you. And
Same
Mark?
here. Thank you so much.
Night,
Sure.
Jeff. Night, everybody. Bye.
Yeah,
Good night. Bye.
Hey, Baba.
Jeff, did Baba also smoke initially?
Baba would smoke only if the muss gave him something, to smoke. But he wasn't a smoker on.
Regular smoker.
He was not an independent smoker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But one thing I remember, Jeff, the Baba smoked once a bidi. It was preserved by K.K. Desai, at Delhi. And it was handed over to Mayor Archives also subsequently.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No. So Rakesh, are you still around?
Yes, Jeff, I'm here. Listening.
Payam is there. Hey, Farish Day, are you there?
I'm here.
Aha. Well, we're
I think
gonna.
she's asleep.
I guess we got to pay up and leave the tavern here.
Okay. It's been nice.
Yeah, Mayor Prasad. I mean, it's great that you drove out from Seattle.
It's been great. I had some time today, so I thought I'll join.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. Well, that's all we do. We just kind of nothing is planned. It just something comes up.
Is this
And
every?
it's always so interesting. I really look forward to these sessions.
Yeah, good. Go ahead, Mayor Prasad.
Do you meet every day, or is it only?
No, not every day, but it's the kind of post-arti thing. I don't know how often I do it. Alan is usually here. I maybe three or four times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say maybe 4 times a week. It's generally maybe Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
And then I'm here at the Gateway, and then at the center, and then on Saturday I'm inside the center. There's no Wi-Fi in there, so I'm off the radar. Anybody got a last quote from Baba? Or well, Fairstay was here. We could hear Hafiz. Fairstay? Nope.
I think she's asleep.
Anybody's got a good quote?
quote.
Somebody sent me a very nice Hafiz quote, but it's on WhatsApp. So I'll write it down and then I'll probably read it the next time.
Okay. Here's one that when Darwin was with Baba here in 1954, in the museum room where Baba would sit around with the men, and Darwin had a one of those stenographer pads, so he was writing as Baba was dictating this on the alphabet board. Darwin was writing it right in, directly, fresh off the press, where Baba said, "Don't worry, let me do the worrying. I enjoy working things out. There's no use in you and I worrying. If you are going to worry, then I won't worry." But the line in there that I find really significant is, "Don't worry, let me do the worrying. I enjoy working things out." But if we worry, we rob Baba of something he likes to do. He likes to work things out. You know, I take it that way. It's like, so when I find myself worrying, I remind myself, well, I'm robbing Baba of something he likes to do, something he enjoys, working out my problem rather than me worrying about it. So that's just a way I kind of take it. That can get me out of worry sometimes. You know, just knowing that I'm robbing Baba of that chance.
Well, you know, that last line kind of sticks to me, though. I'm trying to make sense of it when he says,
Dusra sab kar le.
What does he say at the end?
There's no use in you and I worrying. If you are going to worry, then I won't worry.
Yeah, that strikes me interesting. I mean, like, if you are going to worry, then I'm not going to worry.
Yeah. You know, if you want to take on the whole responsibility, fine. And I'll be there as a backup in case everything falls through.
Wow.
Well, okay, I'm gonna. What? Go ahead. Is that Nasreen?
Yes, I just wanted to say, beloved.